Hi, my name is Day9, and I'm from the Day9 Daily, where we learn to be a better gamer. Ordinarily, I do the analysis of regular StarCraft 2 1v1 matches, but Heart of the Swarm is coming up soon. So I'm here at Blizzard Entertainment, and I present to you the following battle report where I get to cast the sexy Rob Simpson. Hope you enjoy. Hello, my name is Sean Day9 Plot from Day9 TV.
And I'm Rob Simpson from Blizzard Entertainment, and today we are going to be watching a very special StarCraft 2 match from Heart of the Swarm. Now, it is important to note that this is a development build of the game, so all of the balance and all of the units that you see here are not necessarily final.
But we still get the chance to see those sick new units in action and how the strategies of old collide with the strategies of new. We have a Zerg versus Terran, and let's take a look at the map at the start. We have the natural expansion right outside the front with a pretty wide choke leading to a third base.
And then right after that here on Howling Peaks, you're going to see that it actually moves into a relatively open center of the map as well. There's lots of really big wide open areas to take advantage of all those new units.
The Xel'Naga Tower here to check out the back door entrance to see if there's any sneak attacks. And this collapsible rock tower is an interesting formation. If you destroy it, it closes that path that has a little bit of rubble, the exact opposite of destructible rocks.
Now, once those rocks do fall over, they will turn into destructible rocks, so it is possible to open that pathway once again, should you so choose.
And we're seeing the back door entrance to the natural expansion leading all the way up to the Terran base. The basics of this map would be a big map with a lot of different attack paths and no real clear focus on the center. You can easily swing around to all the backsides.
Right, that's right. On this map, you are going to have to be sure to have eyes on all sides of your army.
Now, at this point, it's significant to note that the new units tend to be pretty late on. The Terran is largely factory-based. The Zerg has some late layer tech, but mainly new hive tech. So in other words, the opening stage of the game is going to look a lot like Wings of Liberty.
That's right, and here we can see the Zerg player already laying down his expansion down at his natural. Nothing's going to be quite different. Obviously, we don't see him rushing gas or going for any sort of new crazy tech.
Yeah, and likewise, down in the Terran base, we're seeing a pretty standard barracks followed by gas opening. It looks like the Zerg did throw down some extra drones before throwing down the pool. So this is a way to get a little bit more economy before you start building those units. Can consider to be somewhat of a risk unless you are baller enough to hold off all that early pressure with drones.
And now back over here on the Terran side, we do see that he has just about finished up that tech lab. And his orbital command is also just about to wrap up as well. Now, he's opening with a Reaper.
Yeah, you know, the Reaper Expand is a really common play. You get the Reaper out very early. It takes a lot of gas, but not really any minerals. So you'll start to see that Terran money skyrocket so he can expand soon enough.
And now, this new feature for the Reaper is that they can research the combat drugs upgrade. This enables them to regenerate their health when they're out of combat, further increasing their harassment viability.
And there it is, going down. So now the Reaper has the ability to pop in, do a little bit of damage. Those queens with their extra range can start to pick them off a little bit too easily unless you get that combat drugs upgrade in there. The Reaper has picked off the drone. A second gas geyser has gone down, and there is Reaper number 2 coming out. So it looks like an aggressive opening from the Terran.
That's right. And so as we see the Terran player now start to move that Reaper across the map, you can see that the Zerg player is moving along very standard, as we've seen before, always going for double queens because you still want to keep up on all of that larva production.
Yeah, there's no big drastic change where suddenly Zerg don't value larva and expanding. Zerg is always Zerg, but always has to worry about this exact kind of threat. There's the queen starting to pick off that Reaper. Reaper's going to pop out of battle, and we see combat drugs is almost finished at just needs a few extra seconds, but in the production tab in the top left, you will see that extra command center going down, and you can hear that healing noise on the Reaper as it pops back up to maximum health again.
That's right. Now, fortunately enough for him, just as that Reaper hit the out-of-combat phase, he was now able to heal all the way back up to full HP and is ready to get in once again. Here we see him jumping up the cliffs, as he so often does, and now moving around to potentially, oh no, that queen denies it. Now you'll notice that the Reapers no longer have an anti-building fire.
That is true. They have to rely just on that regular fire, which is still more than enough to pick off those drones. And we see it looks like Terran has to be careful. That Reaper is getting very low on life, but still will be able to pop out. And I even like that juke Terran did, where he hopped up on the low ground and hopped back down just to make sure that there was nothing there to kill him off.
And so once again, we can see the Reapers falling back as they wait to heal up, and another Reaper joins into the force.
Ooh, 3 really is the money number. You can kill drones in one shot with all 3 of them. So now, while the Terran's doing all of this, you can see down on the mini-map, Terran has taken an expansion, and Zerg is still just scrambling to make sure that he can deflect this type of onslaught.
Well, now, fortunately enough for the Zerg player, he is already repositioned with those queens down at the natural, because otherwise he would have easily been able to swing around there and harass those drones.
Now, at this point in time, Zerg is playing in a very normal Zergy way from Wings of the Liberty, just making queens, getting that 3rd hatchery up very early that you see down right there. Huge focus on larva, very much so a Dong Ray Gu style of Zerg vs. Terran.
That's right, because as always, getting your macro as strong as possible early in the game is obviously going to pay off, and now we have the Reapers moving around and one-shotting those drones just left and right. The queens are a little late to the party. Oh, one of the Reapers go down. Will the other 2 be able to escape? No, one more goes down as well. And the unscathed Reaper makes it out just barely.
And even though it looks like Terran might end up losing all these Reapers, did a huge amount of drone damage. And whoa, drones not quite swift enough to pick off that one Reaper. And at this point in time, though Terran lost those Reapers, he got the chance to see absolutely everything going on in the Zerg's base. And now, at this point, at the 8-minute mark in the game, we see the brand new unit in production, the Widow Mine.
Oh man, and these Widow Mines are such a valuable asset to the Terran force.
Looks like we will get the chance to see the Widow Mines moving through the center of the map. And I mean, as you're talking about, Rob, the Widow Mine really helps shut down attack pathways.
Yes.
These Widow Mines are like manually controlled spider mines from StarCraft 1. You burrow them, and when a nearby unit pops up, you can see that radius where they will attach on, and 10 seconds later, detonate, killing everything nearby.
That's right. So the Widow Mine is a great interim solution until you're able to establish that space control with your siege mode on your tanks. And now we can actually see the Reaper. It's looking like he's trying to bait out the queens. The queens are getting just a little too close.
And there, it's been nabbed, and it looks like 10 seconds will pass before that one queen detonates. And the other queen got nabbed too. And see you later, Queen 1, as they continue to try to add creep. They too will go down. So very nice emergency creep spread with 10 seconds left to live.
Right, just trying to get any additional mileage out of those queens that they possibly can. And now we can see that the Zerg player has just double expanded, moving on to both his 3rd and his 4th base. And the Terran player is starting to scan to retake his control of the map, but unable to kill those creep tumors in time.
And in the meantime, I'd like to note that the Widow Mine is produced out of the regular old factory, so a reactor factory can produce them 2 at a time.
That's right, and they only cost 75 minerals and 25 gas, so relatively cheap. And they're also cheap on the supply count as well, only requiring 1.
Yeah, that's a huge step up from the Hellions that require 2. You can get them out quickly because they build fast, but man, do they force you to make a lot of supply depots.
Now the Terran player is staying active on the map with his Reapers, and now back over here in the Terran base, he's now starting to move out for his 3rd, and now we can see the Hellions. They were just in their battle mode and have now switched back into Hellion mode to move across the map faster. Now, when they're in battle mode, they have 50% extra HP.
And they also fire in that wide cone. They're a lot better in direct engagements, but the good old classic Wings of Liberty Hellions, still excellent for these harassment maneuvers. Being able to pick off all these units, he has to be careful. There's the Zerglings now surrounding. A great surround on that creep. I really think Terran might have to go switch into battle mode to engage those Zerglings effectively.
Oh, wow, that would certainly help him if he's going to stay out there. But, it's looked like he's been deterred enough to fall back into the 3rd base. And now we can actually see another new Zerg unit being created in the production tab.
Swarm Host is one of the new Zerg units, burrows under the ground and unleashes locusts 1 at a time, very much so like Broodlords launch the Broodlings, and we see that research up there allows those locusts to live a little bit longer, and wow, a really fast hive tech really to make use of those brand new swarm units.
And now we can see, once again, Terran player is staying very active with those Hellions and moving up into that 3rd base. Just as the Spine Crawler finishes, but the pre-igniter upgrade is finished, and he is just frying those drones.
They don't even need to be lining up. And it looks like he will just roast as many drones as he can anyways. A lot of economic damage done to that top left expansion. Queen spines still have very long range. Looks like these Hellions will be deflected. Finally get picked off, but I mean, as you can see, the big theme of Terran is that with all those new factory units, the Widow Mine, the battle mode Hellion, and of course the Warhound that we have not gotten the chance to see, all that makes mech play very viable.
And now we see, so 3 swarm hosts just popped out for the Zerg player. These are units that you're going to see move across the map and burrow and produce those locusts just as you'd mentioned before.
And the locusts are essentially free units. They don't cost anything. They don't cost any supply. They do live 15 seconds. They can get bumped up to 25 seconds with that special upgrade that we just saw finish up at the Infestation Pit. But they're excellent long-range siege weapons. And there's a swarm host popping out right now. And man, this Zerg is expanding very, very aggressively.
That's right. Back down in Terran land, we can see that the Terran player is kind of ready with his siege line down here. Just as you've seen before, you always use those tanks to establish that space control. And now we have one of the Battle Hellions moving out. Oh, and those swarm hosts all burrow. And oh, no. That lone Hellion is just dismantled by the Locust. But we can see just how useful those Locusts are at potentially absorbing siege tank fire.
And you can see that they are beasts. They absorb so much damage and deal so much damage. And there it looks like the Widow Mine's trying to step into position. Zergling's trying to pick them off, and the Locusts almost get all of them, but one Widow Mine does attach, and it looks like Zerg will have to rearrange, burrow, and we see as that time elapses, Kablooey, it goes down.
Oh, just barely able to pull it out of there. Now, he tried to get a couple extra locusts, but just wasn't able to get it out in time.
Yeah, you can see that those Widow Mines are definitely high risk, high reward. If you get in there and pick off a unit, you feel great, but if you hop in and lose all of them, you just wasted a ton of money.
Ooh, now we just got to see that cute new creep tumor animation. Makes him look all slimy as the creep grows out. Oh, man, and now we have all the Battle Hellions trying to get through there, and in come the Locusts, and getting in a few of those hits, but not really able to finish those off. That huge cone of damage from those Battle Hellions is just so massive when you're able to do that slow push into the Zerg army.
Swarm hosts now falling back, and there is the brand new Zerg unit, the Viper. Right now, what they are doing is chewing on their own buildings to regenerate energy. It's a great way to sap the life from units that really won't be taking any from buildings that won't be taking any damage soon. So that way you can get energy to do some of those new abilities that we'll get the chance to see in just a moment. And there's a duct picking up one of the siege tanks and taking it down, but here comes a huge pack of Widow Mines.
Oh no, and all the Widow Mines are getting in. They may be able to burrow in time. Oh no, the Zerg player is not going to be able to get away from those. And they all latch on, and it's just a matter of time until that army is gone.
And there we see 2 of the swarm hosts running away. The rest die immediately, and a huge swing of supply.
Oh, yes, that is the carnage that Widow Mines can be. As you can see, as long as they're able to get out there and burrow and attach to a target, the reward can be wonderful.
And now we see the slow-moving mech army, the battle mode Hellions with their 45 extra life and their huge radius of damage. Now moving forward with the siege tanks. No Warhounds out on the map, still relying on that classic anti-mutalisk unit, the Thor.
Wow, and now you'll see a slightly different army composition than we have currently in Wings of Liberty. You can see so many Hydralisks out there, and now here they are relatively quickly moving across that ground.
Yeah, the Hydralisks do have a hive tech speed upgrade that should be kicking into action soon if Zerg wants to maintain that effectiveness in the late game. And it looks like some of the Widow Mines do attach, but they don't really do that much damage, Rob.
Oh, no, because when you just have a bunch of small, individual, low-cost units, the Widow Mines really cannot hit their maximum cost efficiency. And now we see the Terran player pushing up into that third, and it's looking like it's now forced the Zerg player to pull back his army to try to eliminate this threat.
Oh, Terran doing a great job just distracting Zerg. We see another Viper there. We'll have to consume on a building to get enough energy to do a well-timed abduct and pick off some of those Thors or even the siege tanks. They're consumed going again.
Now, consuming in a situation like this can be a little bit risky because the Terran player isn't too far away, so any amount of additional damage done to your buildings can end up hurting you.
Absolutely. I mean, we do see that huge pack of Hydras moving through the middle of the map, and even though there's this destruction going down on this side of the screen, we see in the bottom right, yoink! Just snatches up the Thor. Really nice grab there. And the Zerg player in the bottom right has started to re-expand while there's this attack at the front. Those Battle Hellions have to be very careful. The Hydralisk range and speed is so sick, and we see the Vipers continuing to consume. The Hydra Viper Hive Tech combo is just brutal.
Oh man, just biding their time and getting in there. Oh, and pulling the tanks as they siege, enabling them to get focused fire down from the Zerg player. Now the Zerg player is looking in condition to break through this siege line.
We're seeing some great new Hydralisk death animations as finally the mech beast mode army of Terran is eliminated. And you know, those Vipers worked so well, no reason to stop using them. Did consume a building to death.
Wow.
Which is something you always have to be watchful of if you are one of those high APM spammers who closes his eyes.
And now, amidst all the carnage, we can see that the Zerg player has taken advantage and re-expanded the lower right-hand corner and to the area right next to that Xel'Naga watchtower, but the Terran player doesn't like this.
Terran player is going to immediately try to kill that bottom right, might even pick off those collapsible rocks to cover his retreat path. We see those slow Hellions should definitely go into fast Hellion mode if they want to catch those drones, but no, Terran Ops to keep that army nice and tightly packed together. Does not want to run the risk of getting caught off guard after losing his whole army to that Viper Hydra combo.
Oh no, and now we've got the Zerg player just scrambling to try to get any semblance of his army down to there. And right now, this base is just so saturated. If those Hellions would make it in there.
Look at the speed of those Hydralisks. They're like rocket ships.
And you can see them just slithering across at lightning speed, now getting down into the Terran's base to try to get a bit of a counterattack, taking down a few of those Battle Hellions. Now, in small numbers, the Battle Hellions will not be able to handle a fight like this, but now we can see the Zerg player getting his ultimate revenge.
Hydra suddenly become an extremely potent harass unit, but they're going to have to head back home soon if they want to re-defend this right side base that looks like it's getting taken down for the second time. Both players in a crazy, crazy series of base exchanges.
That's right. Now we actually have the Terran player both pushing up through the center of the map as he clears off what few threats are at his base. And we also now have him establishing a siege line in the middle, and there are only Hydralisks trying to fight up. Oh, but in comes the Abduct.
Just snatching up those siege tanks one at a time, really knocking down the damage-dealing mixture of that force. No Infestor Broodlord necessary. This mobile early Hive Tech force is relatively cheap on the resources, and as you can see, cleans up a mech army quite well.
Oh, and now the Zerg player getting out here. He's going to land down that expansion. And he's also expanded up to the top left corner of the map as well. The Terran player has largely lost his map control at this point in the game. He really doesn't have an active force to be moving around. Oh, and the Hydras once again dealing a bit of damage.
And this is the interesting aspect of these new Hive Tech units. The traditional Zerg players going for Infestor Broodlord, a slow army that has to stick together, meaning the Terran can counterattack, mass expand, and there's not that much Zerg can do. But now, with the speed Hydras, the fast-flying Vipers, Zerg can be in so many different places at once, expanding on opposite corners of the map. It is the true Swarm Zerg.
Right now, oh wow, those Vipers actually look just a little overexposed. Will they be able to get in a couple of those Abducts? No, the Zerg player is now forced into a bit of a retreat, now pulling in one of those tanks. Oh yes, now just as you mentioned before, both the Zerg speed combined with their ability to make their opponent uncomfortable is really just so strong.
And we're seeing another counterattack, just as you're saying, going on at the left expansion while these Hydras are denying the right. I mean, the Hive Tech Zerg is suddenly hyper-mobile, and we even see some Ultralisks in production with their new Burrow Charge upgrade. Those tank lines will be busted in no time.
Oh no, those Hellions realize their mistake of engaging. Oh, a couple more tanks pulled directly into that Hydralisk army. And now it seems like the Terran player has been dismantled.
Terran losing that bottom base, we see deciding to go for a counterattack force up at the top left. The mech so much more mobile with this new mixture, allowing those Battle Hellions to lead the charge with their extra boosted health, clean up the front lines. No real fear of Zerglings, Hydralisks, very easy to deal with when those numbers get high, but with those Ultralisks popping out, Rob, I'm starting to get real scared when we see that pack on the minimap.
Oh man, and if this ends up being the final composition for the Terran player, he could be in some serious trouble. Now here he is still staying aggressive, not willing to give up, but the Ultralisks have arrived.
The Ultralisk with that Burrow Charge upgrade, cannot wait for that to blast down that line of tanks. Going to be extremely effective as it allows the Ultralisk to get right up underneath the tanks and knock all those units back. But still, even if you can take out the mech army, what angle do you go for? He's just going to go straight for the counter.
Why kill the army when I can kill your base? And now we can see the Zerg units are just flying around the map, absolutely destroying the undefended Terran base.
and the mech units look like they're doing the only thing they can, counterattacking along the top side. Not enough time to return back home. The tanks siege up. Hydralisks still in production. Zerg in usual Zerg style, expanding across the entire map. Terran running low on expansions. This attack is the last-ditch effort.
Oh, and in come those Ultras now, bringing them back from across the map. Now that he has a couple additional Vipers in there and those speedy Hydras, he is closing in for the killing blow.
And as he's moving up, he has to position this very carefully. The mech army still extremely good in these large numbers. He's abducting, pulling tanks away from the front lines. There's the Ultralist charge underneath the ground, allowing them to plow directly up to those tank lines, pulling those last 2 siege tanks back away, reducing the full damage output. And the Ultra Hydra Viper army, mobile, speedy, can be in so many places at once.
And here comes the Zerg player now, just regathering his forces once again, producing yet another wave of all of those Hydras. Oh man, look at the damaged economy.
And there's the Hydralist, Ultralist armor. Popping
that
up,
charge.
scaring Rob. And now it looks like ripping apart this front line of units. Hellions do manage to cook some, but there's the good game. Zerg takes victory today. So we hope you got the chance to enjoy this new showcase of strategy and units in Heart of the Swarm. I'm Day 9.
And I'm Rob Simpson. Thanks for watching.